Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise, glory, and honors to Yahweh, Bahasheb, Yahushai, Bahasheb, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the elect of the nation of Israel. This is your brother Ayash Gabar from the GMS Virginia camp coming at you with another lesson that I pray that you find edifying through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahasheb Yahushai. Imagine this. It's the 1950s, 60s, or even 70s. Pick a year or a decade. And you're a man going to work every day at some factory, bringing home a modest income. You're not out there robbing and stealing. You're not selling drugs. You're not being a hoodlum. You're out there, you're working to do what you need to do to support your family. And your wife is at home managing the household, taking care of the kids, making sure that when you come home you have some rest, because your wife, is your pillar of rest when you come home. That's your cushion of comfort, to alleviate the stresses of the day-to-day bullshit that you have to go through as a man. Albeit whatever it is that you got to go to, racial discrimination, job discrimination, whatever it is that you went through or you have to go through during that time. Well, your wife has friends, who live in the same building or in the same block, and it just so happens your wife goes to the store by herself and runs into another woman that she knew. Your wife might have went to school with this woman or whatever, and find out that this woman has been working, another Jake woman or whatever, has been working in an office building, doing whatever, and she sees your wife, and they get caught up on things, they start gadding abroad or doing whatever, holding conversations, talking about old times and old friends or whatever. And a woman, your wife's friend, asks the wife, "So what are you doing?" And your wife says, "Oh, I'm just home, just taking care of the kids, making sure, my house is taken care of." And that woman who's working, who's your wife's friend, says, "Girl, you should be out there making some money. You see, the things that I'm able to buy, and, I'm able to get these groceries and have this dress. And look, we just bought a brand new car for $3,000, and back then $3,000 is a lot of money." So your wife is looking at the appearance of this woman. Your wife is observing what she's able to buy. She's observing, the looks that she get from other men. Your wife is observing, everything about this woman. Well, now, your wife is starting to get that appeal of wanting to do what this woman is doing. So, your wife asks, "How did you do these things?" And, the woman tells your wife, "Well, I mean, after we were in school or whatever, I, I met a couple of white women, Edomites, I met a couple of white women who were, holding this fundraiser, to get more black women, so-called black women, involved in the workforce. And, they gave me their card, and, I went down into their office building and I filled out an application and I got a job to work at X, Y, and Z. You should do the same." And your wife says, "Well, I don't think my husband would like that." And the woman says, "Well, here's the information. Keep it in the back of your mind. I'll talk to you later." Well, some time goes by and your wife doesn't tell you about it. Well, one day you're laying in bed or either you're laying in bed or you just ate. More than likely, you're laying in bed because after you do the do, your wife likes to talk in your fucking ear, and that's probably when Jake is at his weakest point, but you're laying in bed, what I'm saying, and your wife starts spurting this shit in your ear. "Well, I met this woman I used to work with, blah, 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 and, Well, I met this woman I used to go to school with, blah blah blah, and she's doing good for herself. She's working. And your husband says, "What, working? Nah, my wife ain't working." So you let it go. A few weeks later, you bring it up again. Well, I couldn't, I couldn't get that steak that you like. You know what I'm saying? Because we didn't have enough money. But if I was working, I'd be able to help. Your husband says, "Look, stop talking about this shit." The wife says, "Okay." A month later, he gets laid off because the system is starting to get to the system where the men are no longer being in a position to maintain a job because the company is moving or whatever. Well, now your wife brings it up to you. Well, hey, look, I can go out and work. Reluctantly, your husband listens and he agrees. Well, you can only do this until I get me a job. And you say, okay, okay, great. So he allows you to work and you start working. He's at home. He's doing your duties at home, you know, but he's still out there throwing out his applications to do what he has to do. But it's getting harder and harder for him. But you get the job and you find out that things are becoming easier and easier for you as a woman in the workforce. Because now you're working at the office that he could never be in. You're getting the recognition or the praise for the work that you do just for pencil pushing. But here it is, he's breaking his back, at a metal mill or wherever. And he's not even getting an evaluation to reflect his work performance, which in turn prevents him from getting a raise. But you getting all type of benefits. The office throws parties and you're invited, but you don't invite your husband. So at this party, you start eating shit that you spent hundreds of dollars. Well, you start eating things that your husband wanted you to buy, but you couldn't afford. But now you're eating it, but you're not taking it home because you don't want him to know what you're doing at work. And this is how it starts, where the woman has been set up in such a way to be above a man because she has done things that 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 would allow, how can I put this? The woman has been beguiled in a system that she shouldn't have been in. And she listened to a doctrine that she should have never been a part of. And it all started back to the garden. And I'm sorry for going on for as long as I went on without a precept, but the point had to be made in terms of a story. Because a lot of these grandmothers have told their daughters, who are now probably your wife's mothers, to seek these type of positions, to join the corporate world, be a part of the corporate world, do it all alone. These men are going to struggle, because your grandfather struggled, he lost his job and he could never go out and get another job. So I had to support him, which in turn I had to leave him because I saw myself going in another direction. And you know the story, because it's the same story that these bitches talk about today. The book of Proverbs, chapter 31 and verse 3. Give not thy strength unto a woman, nor thy ways that which destroyeth kings. A lot of men has given their strength unto women. They're women. And in them giving their strength to their women, it's destroyed them. It has destroyed the household. Because if that man was strong, he'd have told his wife, nah, you ain't doing that shit. Back then, he'd be like, nah, you ain't doing that shit. If I got struggle, you struggle. But a lot of men were weak. A lot of men has given their strength to women to allow women to be in a position of authority over them. I mean, these men have actually relinquished these things to women at some point. I'm not saying all men did that, but a lot of men did. A lot of you Jakes have allowed your women to join the workforce, myself included. Don't get me wrong. I'm not exempt from the things that I had to go through, which is in line with the story that I brought out. But I'm not saying that I gave her my strength in that sense, but I was ignorant to give her the well, shit, at the time I couldn't control it because it was just the way it was. So but a lot of men have given their women their strength to the point where they're weak in the eyes of their women. And in that, it has destroyed the family structure. And it's no different than what the women had to go through or what the women did back at the garden, pursuant to the book of Genesis, chapter 3. The snake came, beguiled Eve, and Eve took that bullshit home to Adam. Adam absorbed it, and they both fell. Well, it's no different now. Because what you're seeing now is the total, or what you saw, was the rise of the woman. Because she is drunken of that wine. These women actually thought that they would be in a position of power forever, to the point where they've joined the workforce in high executive positions, and they were able to gad abroad and do whatever it is that they want to do. They've been able to freely give away their bodies to whoever it is that they wanted to give it to. Some of these women had to suck their way to the top. Some have even had to fuck their way to the top. And what are you seeing now? You're starting to see that, these women, or these women are starting to realize now that it was all a dream. It was all a lie. So a lot of these women are stranded, believing in a system that just wasn't built to uplift them for a extensive period of time, but were incorporated into a system that would destroy their families. And a lot of them are starting to realize that they're fucked, because in doing so, they have nothing. Because the one thing that you see in this picture is, or don't see in this picture, is men. Even though it's an AI generated image, the one thing that you don't see in this image is men standing anywhere in this picture. The book of Sirach, chapter 26 and verse 23. A wicked woman is given as a portion to a wicked man. And these women has made an allegiance with the wicked. Now, we know that the scriptures are twofold or multifold. And you can call that wicked man the true wicked. Eve has made an allegiance with the wicked Esau Edom. And so a lot of these women has been given as a portion to him. And in 2026, or even in 2025, you have started to see the removal of a lot of these women who have held these high-end office jobs, or these executive positions, or even positions of authority, removed out of their place. Because if you look at this image, a lot of these women look like women who have worked in office buildings, or like has had some level of a position in an office. And they're not happy at their situation. And they've got that look of not being happy. Remember back in the day where, a lot of these women would look at a camera and they'd have a smile on their face with a gleam in their eye, and you knew somehow, or they knew somehow, that they were living their best lives? You're not seeing that now. You see, these women were given as a portion to a wicked man because they have made an allegiance with this wicked man to destroy the structure that Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai set up. You see, this devil has done a diligent search to destroy that which we as Israelite men love. We love our women. There's no question. We love our women, but this is not the world where we would love our women the way that we would want to love our women. You see, our women are just wicked. You know? As a matter of fact, let me get a scripture right quick. I wasn't planning on doing this. The book of 1 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 12. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over a man, but to be in silence. The minute these women have gotten into positions of authority over a man, it has become very hard to shut them up, because they found themselves, or they thought themselves to be on the same level as men, because the wicked has given them that illusion of authority. This devil has given the women, so much control, while himself maintaining control of the women, that, he allowed them to do whatever it is that they wanted to do. Okay, you want to work in a corporate field? Okay, we give you an office job, but, you got to do this for it. You want to work, you want to work in a corporate field? Okay, but once you get to this level of a position, you can't have this type of man. How does it look for a lawyer who works at a firm, what I'm saying, to be fucking with Ray the thug, which some have, but it's not a good look. So, you gotta upgrade, you gotta leave Ray in the projects. Next thing you know, that Jake woman, who used to love Ray is now, you know, uh, 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 you know, messing with John. You know, so this devil has put it in Eve's head that once you get to a certain level, you're expected not to deal with something on a lower level, which really messed up a lot of women, because the way the system is that most men are at a very low level, and they were told not to deal with that level. So now a lot of these women are realizing that they've been fucking with the same old men on a high level that hundreds of other women have. That's why you see videos of a certain type of man on YouTube or whatever getting all of these women. Why? Because these women were told, to, date up, fuck up. Don't fuck down, fuck up. And when they fuck up, they fucking with the same men that all these other women deal with. Well, now you have these low level men that they look at as being low level. I'm not saying that, these men are low level, but they looking at these men who are blue collar workers, because I'm a blue collar worker, you know. They look at blue collar workers or whatever as being beneath them, and so they don't fuck with them. And at some point, a lot of these women have had the chance to find husbands, get husbands, stay with the man that they dealt with from the beginning. They've actually had that chance. Because I remember a time when I was in school, when I had a girlfriend, we were it. It was nobody else. It was just her and I. And in her eyes, it was just her and me. Well, that changed. And the crazy shit is that I seen it changed. Where these mothers who have had freedoms given to them by Esau Edom begin to tell their daughters, don't fuck with these type of men. Because there was also that phase where, you know, these women wanted to juke the system or needed help from the system. And so they went down to the devil. And the devil said, okay, you need help? Get the man out the house and I'll pay your rent. Make sure he don't come back and I'll give you money for food. You want kids? I'll pay for it. I'll give you more money. And these women saw that as an opportunity of having control without being controlled by their man. But all the while, they were being controlled by another man who just wasn't in their face every fucking 5 minutes. And they liked that. You mean you would do the same shit that my man does and you don't live here? You'll pay my rent? You give me money for food? And you'll take care of me and my kids? And I don't have to fuck you? I don't have to deal with your I don't have to deal with your bullshit? Yeah, okay, I'll go that road. Meanwhile, these same women that drunk that wine is looking at the man that's working hard, that blue collar worker. She's not looking at him saying, get the fuck out. The book of Proverbs, chapter 14 and verse 1. Every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands. And that's what a lot of these women have done. They have plucked down their houses with their own bare hands. Who today you would call your grandmother or even your mother. You see, they've had men that was down to take care of them. But these women, being the wicked women of our nation that they are, they destroyed that. Now, you being a little girl, see this shit go down. So now you think that your mom has full authority over everything because she was able to get a man out the house who maintained the house. You know what I mean? And so now your little girl sees what your mother did. And that son now sees the man leave the house. Well, now he's mad at the man because the man didn't put up a fight. Nah, bitch, I'm staying. I don't give a fuck what you do. But instead, the man, some men, say, all right, I'll get the fuck out. I'll be back on Wednesday to see my kids. But you women, when the man love you, say, nah, you ain't got to see your kids no more. I got another nigga that's taking care of my shit. He don't come by, he pay my rent, he give me money for food, and he taking care of your kids. I don't need you no more. These women have actually destroyed their own houses by their own hands. Time goes on, generations pass. So now that daughter that you couldn't see no more because her mother emasculated her. And that son that don't want to deal with you at the time, who thought that you weren't man enough to take care of your situation at home, has now become effeminized by the same woman that said that she no longer needs a man. Yo, it's, when you think about it, Esau has done a wonderful job with our women, even the gray-haired woman, because your grandmother is just as worse as your mother, and your mother is worse than your daughter, and your mother is and your the grandmother's daughter is worse than your wife, and it just trickles down from there, bro. These women are just fucking wicked. They're just wicked. The book of Proverbs, chapter 30 and verse 20. Such is the way of an adulterous woman. She eateth and wipeth her mouth, and saith, I have done no wickedness. This devil has allowed the women to just do whatever it is that they want to do, and however they want to do it, and dare you to say anything about it being a man. To the point where men just don't say shit no more. They just go with the flow. Oh yeah, you a hoe? All right. No sweat off my back. I'll treat you as such. How many men you been with? Don't ask me my body count. All right. Then I won't tell you mine. Nor will I tell you the disease that I got. You don't want to be upfront with me? I won't be upfront with you. Which is why you have STDs running fucking rampant amongst you jakes. Which is why, you're starting to see, you're starting to see some shit going on with Jake that you just don't even want to be involved with anymore, being in this truth. But the one thing that you're starting to see more and more and more of is these women going through it because they have sided with the devil. And for those who don't know, devil just means deceiver. The same thing as saying the snake or the serpent, because he deceived Eve in the garden, and he deceived a lot of you women in these times. He deceived your grandmother, your auntie. He just deceived the women and controlled you to the point where he got the house just where he wants it. As a matter of fact, let me see. Let me get this. Let me get this right quick. Where is it? The book of Matthew, chapter 12 and verse 29. Or how else can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house? And that's what the devil did. He allowed the woman to bind the strong man from within, get the strong man out of his own dwelling, and then spoil his house by taking his women, his children, everything. You women are in for some shit, because as Esau Edom falls, so will you, because he was the one that has given you the authority that you think you have. Because a lot of you women have become adulterous. A lot of you women has eaten shit. Like I said earlier, the scriptures is multifold. She eateth and wipeth her mouth. And a lot of you women have eaten. You've eaten, and you swallow down, and then go home to your husbands and say you ain't do shit. Or when your husband come home, you know, you act like no other nigga has been in your house. Meanwhile, you bitches done changed the sheets and, sprayed all types of perfume in the house or whatever y'all do. Hide the evidence. Well, you may have hid it from your husband, but you didn't hide it from Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Because a lot of you women who don't have men will find it very hard to find one. And during the time of Jacob's trouble, a lot of these men ain't gonna want to deal with you. Hell, a lot of these other men are dealing with other fucking men. A lot of you women are in for some shit. That's for sure. Because you don't accept discipline. You don't accept accountability for nothing. A man can sit here and tell you how you're going off, but you don't adhere to it. You ain't my mother. No, you ain't my father. Bitch, you never knew your father. You never knew your father. Because you've adopted the same mindset that your mother had when she kicked him out the fucking house. So now she has no hedge. And she taught you how to be so emasculated that you've actually said out of your own lips, out of your own mouth, that you don't need a man. You make your own money. You got your own shit. You got your own car. You go to Root Chris or whatever it is. You take your own. Run on that. Campaign on that. Stick to that. Maintain that same spirit, because during the time of Jacob's trouble, a lot of men are going to remember what the fuck you said. And a lot of men do remember what the fuck you said. The only men that are going to come by and help you during the time of Jacob's trouble are fucking simps. Or those men who's going to help you to exploit you. Hey, you like to run the streets. You like to spread your legs. Okay. What you don't understand is that the Lord, bro. You like to fall. Yeah, okay. Next thing you know, you're getting ran through by 100 men. You like to talk shit? Okay. Next thing you know, your jaw broke. You think you're a man? Okay. Then you'll be treated like a man. And then handled like a woman. And then eaten like a fucking steak. Okay. Hey, you don't know Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. What was I going to get? Let me see. The book of Sirach, chapter 25, and let me highlight this. The book of Sirach, chapter 25, and verse 16. I'd rather dwell with a lion and a dragon than to keep the house with a wicked woman. That's why you're starting to see a lot of men living alone. Straight men living alone, not having to deal with your bullshit. So while these women in this AI generated image are out in the streets, men are actually home, relaxing in peace. Men have found peace by themselves rather than finding the peace of being with their woman. Because remember, I said earlier, a woman is supposed to be a pillar of rest. You women have become lions and dragons. You have become problems. And men have found a way to be peaceful without you. That's a problem for you. That's a huge problem for you because you have shown men, you have you have you have given men the opportunity to cook for themselves, fend for themselves, spend a little dough every now and again and get a harlot. You know, men do shit on their own now to the point where they don't need a relationship. They don't need you at all. And a lot of you women are starting to realize that. You look at the eyes of these women in this generated image, reality is starting to set in. Like, oh shit, we fucked up. We chose, I'll get it. I'll get it. Because a lot of you women have chose wrong. You know? As a matter of fact, let me get this because I was going into this momentarily just now. The book of First Corinthians, chapter 7 and verse what is it, 29. And it says, hold on a second, let me highlight this because you women have become a fucking problem. But I say this, brethren, the time is short. It remaineth that both that have wives be as though they have none. You know, and I just got right to the point. We're entering into the time where, you know, you should be out, if you're a man, you know, who knows his truth and who's able to go out there and teach, you should be out there going out there to teach. You should be acting as if you don't have a wife, you know, and do the work of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Go out there and preach, teach, and warn the people, especially if you got this truth. Because the evil days are upon you. Do the work and be as though you have no wives. You know? That was a little sidebar, but nonetheless, the point is made. It's getting to the point where, you know, you should be focused on doing the work of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And that goes to show you that, you know, these women are not first and foremost in your lives. And neither should they have ever been. But yeah, I got a few more precepts. Let me see. Oh, yeah, Con, I definitely won't get this. I definitely won't get this. The book of Luke, chapter 2 and verse. Now, hold on a second. No, Salah. Where is it? Salakia, brothers. Give me a second. Come. The book of 1 John, chapter 2 and verse 15. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. And as I said earlier, and I'll say it again, the scriptures are multifold. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. Because a lot of these women were seduced by the things that are in the world. You know, the glitz, the glamour. You know, as I said in my little story earlier, you know, the woman who was married, you know what I'm saying, who ran into her friend, saw what her friend was driving and what her friend was driving and what her friend was dressing. You know, she saw these things and she got caught up in that shit. She wanted it, you know. And what did the married woman do? You know, she kept bombarding her husband over several lengths of time, you know what I'm saying, to allow her to do what that other woman was doing. And to the point where her husband was in a situation where, you know, he just caved in, you know. And that's and come to think about it, when you read the scriptures, that's what a lot of these women do. You know, they keep bombarding the men with shit just to get what they want. Samson went through that shit. You know, what is your power? What is your power? What is your power? Where does your power come from? Where does your power come from? You know, and so eventually, you know, he just caved in and said, "My hair, you know, my hair. I've never cut my hair. You know, that's my power." And to the point where she used that against him and destroyed him. And this is what caught a lot of women up: the love of the world. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. And even though it says, if any man love the world, you know, you can put woman in there too. If any woman love the world, the love of the Father is not in them. And you can even relate this back into Lot's wife. Lot's wife loved the world. She loved what she had, to the point where, you know, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai was destroying Sodom and Gomorrah. You know, and she thought to look back. You know, and she probably said, "Oh man, my house and my wealth, and I really love that silk lined chair." You know what I'm saying? And even to this day, she's a monument of to you women. You know, she's still that same pillar of salt somewhere as a monument to you women who look back to the world, who have made allegiance to the world. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any woman love the world, even though it says men, you can put women in there too. If any woman or if any man loves the world, the love of the Father is in him. So if you love the world, the love of your husband isn't in you. Especially dealing with a man of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Because we don't love this world. Because we're not of this world. We're of the kingdom to come. And if you have a woman who loves this world, the scriptures say deal with her with wisdom, you know, for she is the weaker vessel, you know. And if you can abide with her, abode with her. But if she's a witch and all types of bullshit, then get rid of her. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but of the world. What did I say? You know, in that story. You know, that woman saw what that other woman had and she wanted it. She lusted after it. You know, the lust of the eyes. And when she got those things, that woman eventually left the husband, you know, because she became prideful and thought that she no longer needed her husband, you know. And the world passeth away and the lust thereof. But he that does the will of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai abideth forever. So fuck this place. So fuck this place. You know? So I'm going to close out with Sirach 26 and 23. I started with it. I never finished it. I started with I used a wicked woman is given as a portion to a wicked man, but I'll close out with, but a godly woman is given to him that feareth Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. A lot of you women are about to be out back. The eyes of these women says a lot, especially when you noticed the eyes of these women when they were in their height. Totally different look. Totally different look. And very soon, you're about to see the look of despair and anguish upon these women. Because a lot of them shall be trodden down as the mire of the streets because of their pride, their haughtiness, their mouth, their disrespect, a lot of them are going to refuse to fall to a man. Well, not fall to a man, but be subjected unto a man, because they have drunken a straight shot of this Babylonian juice that they're going to be hard. It's going to be hard for a lot of these women to put down that bottle. Anyhow, I pray that you found this lesson edifying through the spirit and power of the Yahweh Shem Yahushai. So I'll close out on that. I'd like to give all praise, glory, and honors to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Harakar Kodash. Double honors to the apostles of the great millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the elect of the nation of Israel. Shalom.